Welcome back, everyone, to the BGF podcast, episode number 34. I'm your host, Gianluca, alongside of
Brandon.
Today, we're going to keep that little streak we got going with in-depth breakdowns per team. Today, we got a fun one for you guys. We got the New York Jets. We want to really dissect them, talk about a few things that went wrong, sort of where they missed, where they whiffed, and why they started crumbling down. Like, such a promising season turned into such falsehood. And where do you want to start, Brandon?
Yeah, a team that had so much hope. We'll start in the off-season, obviously. We know coming off a terrible year last year with Zach Wilson and Mike White and Joe Flacco, just terrible quarterback play. It was obvious what they needed to get in the off-season, a new quarterback, and they were linked with a few guys, but in the end, Aaron Rodgers ends up saying that he wants to be a New York Jet, so that was always going to be the guy they were going to go for. And it took a while. We heard a lot of rumors of what are they going to trade for him, whatever, and the deal finally gets done right after the draft. And they get Aaron Rodgers. They trade a conditional first, I believe, and they get him in New York. The hype is real. Everyone's saying that the Jets are going to be Super Bowl contenders. Garrett Wilson's going to be one of the top receivers in the NFL this year, which I honestly believed as well. And I still think if Rodgers was not injured, that would have happened. But anyway, they get him, and 4 snaps in against the Buffalo Bills in week 1. He obviously gets injured, tears his ACL, and Zach Wilson, they're back into the same situation they were last year with Zach Wilson under center at quarterback. And stuff hasn't changed. Zach Wilson obviously is not a great quarterback. We know that they've probably been the worst. They've been one of the worst offenses in the league, if not the worst, and stuff hasn't changed. We see now to yesterday, Tim Boyle has been named the starting quarterback for this team, so it's been rough. And they had plenty of chances this season until the trade deadline to make a trade for a quarterback, a guy like Jacoby Brissett or Jameis Winston or one of these proven guys.
Even Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs as well. That could have been huge for them. Just these guys that we've seen before be solid backups, career backups like Brissett that we know can do a job and could get a very talented roster to the playoffs at least. And they obviously don't do it. It's very ignorant from the Jets front office. Joe Douglas, he's got to be better. They got to make a move, and unfortunately they just waited way too late with Wilson and the blind faith that they've had with him since he's been there, and it just feels like they don't want to move on from their mistake, but they had to do it now. They just were left no choice, especially last game against Buffalo. That was probably the worst display I've ever seen.
Yeah,
from
it was bad. And just to sort of touch up on what you said there about Zach Wilson, I feel like the Jets, I mean, these past 2 tenures at quarterback have whiffed both of them. They had Sam Darnold in, and obviously we know that didn't really work out. And Jets fans were upset that they let go of him so quickly because they never really had a team in front of him, which is fair. I totally understand that. He never really did have a fair team in front of him that was able to do stuff. But at the end of the day, we saw what he did elsewhere. He wasn't the guy, so they made the right decision. So now you bring in a guy like Zach Wilson, who, as Jets front office, you're just sort of praying sticks because that's your second quarterback that you kind of whiffed on. And at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that Zach Wilson isn't the guy. I don't think he ever will be the guy. I mean, just looking at his numbers this year, his points per game, the Jets are averaging 15 points a game. That's 30th in the NFL. TDs per game, they're averaging 1.1. So imagine scoring 1 touchdown a game. It's 37. That's dead last in the league.
They haven't scored a touchdown in how long?
I read during the game they showed it. It was like they haven't scored a touchdown in 40-something drives.
Crazy.
Which is like
40-something drives.
2 games and a half or something, whatever they were saying. And it's just been pathetic. And I mean, like you said, their ignorance to not go after a quarterback, knowing that they needed one, is just, it's blind stupidity. And I mean, they're definitely feeling it right now. And front office, something needs to change down there in New York. If you're the owner, what do? You look at what hasn't worked and obviously make the big move for quarterback. It doesn't go your way, but unfortunately, that's the game where they play. The NFL, that's what happens. And quarterbacks don't always stick. I mean, look at my Vikings, right? They lost Kirk Cousins, but what do? They know that they got a guy in Jaren Hall who might be the guy, but they want to just have a plan C in case. Good on them. Go get Joshua Dobbs, who does end up coming in because Jaren Hall goes down, and now Dobbs is the starter. Why couldn't the Jets do something like that? You got a young guy in Zach Wilson who you saw what he did the season before, didn't look too promising, and you run it back with him and Tim Boyle as your backup, who you know is even worse than Zach Wilson. And we're going to see that this week. Tim Boyle's getting the nod. He's going to start. I wouldn't be surprised if they bench him at half for Trevor Siemian, so we'll see.
Yeah, for me, as much as both of them are not great options, I would have probably went with Siemian here. I feel like we've seen him in the past, like with Denver.
Yeah.
This is a while ago with Denver anyway, but I feel like we see him be like, okay. I feel like Tim Boyle, we saw him come in last game, and he looked as bad as Zach Wilson, so I don't know how much is really going to change with that quarterback change, but to me, what's like unfortunate with this is 2 years in a row now they've just wasted an elite NFL defense. This is like a top 5 defense in my opinion. The last 2 years we've seen them hold teams to like 14 points and lose games, which should not be happening with any team. No. Your offense has to hold up some sort of the bargain here. And a guy like Quincy Williams was having a career year, one of the better linebackers in the league, I'd say this year. Yeah. His brother Quinnen Williams, Sauce, like you got very good pieces on this defense, and just being wasted right now with the front office not helping them out with just getting a half decent quarterback. Like no one's asking for. I've heard a lot of people saying that because Rodgers doesn't want someone when he comes back to be there, but we all know that Rodgers, like if they bring in a Winston or a Brissett, no matter how good they're doing, we know if Rodgers is healthy, Rodgers is gonna go back in anyway. I don't think there's really ever been any threat of that not being the case.
And I don't think, I mean, speaking on Rodgers' behalf, I haven't spoken with him, but I don't think he minds having a backup there just in case of an injury. I mean, he was living in Green Bay with Jordan Love. Mm-hmm. We saw what happened there. He was the starter no matter what, and then Jordan, when their season was over, they threw him in, see what they have in the kid, which is understandable. And why couldn't the Jets do something like this? You have a guy in Zach Wilson who at this point in his career, I think is a bust, and I don't know, just ignorance. Mm-hmm. Ignorance on their front office to not do anything. Just looking at the defense side of things, I want to touch up on this stat here. Their opponents' yards per play, they're allowing 4.7. That's fourth best in the NFL. They're allowing an average of 1.8 touchdowns per game. That's the third best in the NFL. Imagine holding a team to basically 14 points and not being able to win. That's embarrassing. Yeah. Your offense is averaging 1, so you're losing games like 14-7.
That's what it's been really the whole the last 2 years. It's just been the defense holding on for dear life, and the offense not being able to really do anything.
And I see a lot of people going after Robert Saleh and like going after him, but at the end of the day, Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded head coach, and what he's doing with this defense is good. It's legit. All right, maybe his offensive scope on things, his analysis isn't there, but he shouldn't be in charge of the offense.
Nathaniel Hackett was the guy employed for that, so it hasn't been great. We've seen Matt Canada get fired today, so I don't know. I know a lot of Jets fans are calling for Nathaniel Hackett's head right now, and I don't blame them, but I don't think anything's really going to be done there. I think because Aaron Rodgers, we know how great his relationship is with Aaron Rodgers, so I don't see anything really being done there, but I know Jets fans are really not happy with him because even just them being so bad in the passing game has also affected Breece Hall's production really, because he hasn't really. Teams know that their only real threat is rushing the ball, and that's been taken away quite a bit with how bad. Knowing that the passing offense isn't really much of a threat.
To be fair to Breece Hall, though, he's still averaging 4.7 yards a carry, which is
very impressive.
Very, very good. Only has 2 touchdowns on the year, but that's not his fault. I mean, the Jets team in general, I think, has 8-9 touchdowns on the season, something like that, maybe 10. So that's just actually 6 plus 2 plus 1. So 9 seasons on the year. 9 touchdowns. Sorry, 9 touchdowns on the year for the Jets. So they're. If you take that average, that's actually less than 1 a game. That's just some wild stuff. I don't even. Oh man, I feel bad for you Jets fans, but yeah, like you said, the thing that's tricky with Hackett is the relationship with Rodgers, and we know how invested the Jets are in Rodgers, so I don't think they want to upset him. And Nathaniel Hackett, for whatever reason, is very, very. Rodgers, is very, very adamant on Nathaniel Hackett, so. I don't see them moving from him, but I do think he isn't the best offensive coordinator. Obviously, we saw what he did in Denver last season. It wasn't great. And then we see the sort of not transformation, but the efficiency that Denver is at right now with Sean Payton under center. So I do think Nathaniel Hackett is not a great offensive coordinator, but maybe that's just me as a fan. I don't know. Maybe with Rodgers, they have some sort of connection that we don't know about. Turns this season around, but yeah, speaking of Rodgers, he's supposed to come back mid-December, I heard.
Yeah, I've seen that, but it's really if they're going to be contending, and I don't... just from looking at now with Tim Boyle also, I highly doubt they're going to be contenders, and I just really think they should have made it a priority to re-sign like a guy like Mike White. We saw when he came in last year, he made this offense look like good.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I say good. Not anything crazy, but it was okay. It was good enough that they could score more than one touchdown a game. So I feel like now he's in Miami, not playing at all. And I feel like if he was in New York right now, he would be the starter. And I feel like Jets fans would be a lot happier. And also a stat that I had seen. Last game, the Jets obviously went 0 for 11 on third down, which is some horrible stuff. And for the season, they're converting at a 22.9% rate on third down.
That's horrible.
Which is the worst in NFL history. So,
oh, man.
Zach Wilson, that's a stat you got. You led an offense to the worst third down conversion rate in NFL history, which shows how historically bad this Jets offense is. It's just embarrassing, really, at this point.
I mean, is there any, like... All right, so obviously this season, they're, 4-6 now this season, 4-7?
Which, even that is impressive for them to have 4 wins with how bad the offense has been.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're going on a little 3-game losing streak. They're heading to Miami this week. I don't want to sound mean or anything, but I doubt they'll win this one.
Especially, yeah. But it is at home, but still, I don't think it makes it much of a difference.
I don't think it makes much of a difference. Miami's going to probably beat them pretty badly. I mean, we saw what the Bills did to them. Wouldn't be surprised if Miami does something similar. And, I mean, is there any optimism? End of season, you got the Falcons, the Texans, the Dolphins again. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's not an easy schedule. But what about next year for this Jets team? Do you think there's hope for next season?
There should definitely be hope for next year. You're going to get Rodgers back. Could be his last season. Yeah. So you'd imagine he'd want to go out there and prove something and try and win a Super Bowl and be contenders. But you just have to hope for the health there on that side. Hopefully he recovers well from that ACL injury, because with the age he's at, you never know how that's going to be. Achilles, sorry. You don't know at his age how that's going to look, so we'll hope for the best there, but he should recover well. We've seen it, how fast he's recovered already, so things look good on that end, and I expect the defense to still be as elite as it is now, and hopefully for Jets fans, they can finally get a year of contention, because it's been very bad. It's been very tough for them in the last 10 to 15 years. So this was the year for them, and it just didn't go to plan. But I don't want to worry too much. I feel like they're gonna get a top pick this year, and they'll get another piece to add to this defense or offensive line or whatever they choose to pick.
What would you address if you were in front office? I feel like
they need an offensive line.
Yeah, like desperately. It's been pretty bad. I mean, obviously,
that doesn't help. Went down for the year, which didn't help.
Doesn't help Zach Wilson's case when you're getting pressured every play, but
I feel like you
need to address that. You've been addressing your defense for years, and you've built a pretty good one at that. Offense needs some work. O-line, especially a second receiver, because Garrett Wilson's the only guy here that, like, look at this. Garrett Wilson, considering everything that's happened, still having a decent season. 57 receptions for 651 yards is pretty good considering the team he's on. The second receiver then drops down to Allen Lazard, who has 20 receptions for 290 yards.
Breece Hall's
got more than him, and Tyler Conklin, the tight end, has more than him. That's just, like, unacceptable. You need someone in that locker room to step up and like, be that wide receiver, too, that they need. So maybe they go wide receiver in the draft. Who knows? But
I feel like the plan was Lazard was really signed for Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I think we all know that Lazard right now is not really a wide receiver, too. He's more of a 3 type of guy, but with Rodgers, a guy that he's comfortable with, that could have worked out. And we'll see next year how it is. That's gonna really wrap up our breakdown. Unless you got something else to add here.
Look, Jets fans, I know this season isn't great, but just keep on dreaming. Next year, you're getting a healthy Rodgers, hopefully, and he comes back like with a vengeance, like Brandon said, coming back to prove a point. And I think that is going to be the case. it's unfortunate. I really, really hope that you guys are able to move on and get a backup quarterback at least for next season. I think they will sort of learn from their mistakes. Hopefully they learn from their mistakes at least. But yeah, just hang in there. As always, next year. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell for all our future notifications and videos when we drop. Let us know what you think about this style of video. If you liked what we talked about today with the New York Jets, really appreciate a comment. And yeah, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.